Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Saturday, June 15th, 2024. There was a story yesterday that I did not see until today, and I want to pair that with what we were discussing yesterday, plus what ended up happening in game 4 of the Mavericks game. In case you missed it, they started to tear down the Stoneman Douglas High School yesterday, and it was on Trump's birthday. And recall that shooting happened early in Trump's administration. Happened shortly after his first anniversary of being in office, Valentine's Day 2018. Of course, that's the 45th day of the year. Then they start to tear down the school on number 45's birthday. And remember, we talked about how earlier in that same day, what was in the news was the Supreme Court overturning the Trump era bump stock ban, which came as a result of the Stoneman Douglas shooting, and how the attorney general who signed off on that bump stock ban stepped down from head of attorney general on the 1-year anniversary of the Stoneman Douglas shooting. But also, as we covered at the time of Stoneman Douglas, there were all these parallels to Sandy Hook. They even said that the majority of students killed in the Stoneman Douglas shooting were killed in room 1214. And of course, Sandy Hook happened on the date December 14th. Pretty fateful day in history, 1214. Part of the history of that date is George Washington, the first president of the U.S., died unexpectedly on that day in history, December 14th. But with regards to the parallels with Sandy Hook and Stoneman Douglas, of course, also in the news yesterday and again, Trump's birthday, also in the news on this day, Alex Jones having his plan approved to liquidate his assets and his share of InfoWars ownership to pay off the Sandy Hook victims. All these stories coming together, and we've been showing how all these things were an interwoven story for as long as all this has been going on. We're going to get to what also matters about Biden meeting with the Pope on this same day, 144 days before the election. Of course, Biden has the parallels to JFK, and JFK was assassinated 144 days from meeting with the Pope, and RFK, his brother, died at 1:44 a.m., and Kennedy has parallels to Lincoln, who was shot on 14/4, the 14th day of April. And again, these rituals going down on Trump's birthday, and the election this year is 144 days after Trump's birthday, and it's on a day that's special to the Jesuits, Guy Fawkes Day, which has a lot to do with violence and politics in history and other lands, the UK. But yeah, the whole JFK thing, JFK died in Parkland Hospital in Dallas. You had game 4 of the NBA Finals fudged to Trump's 78th birthday. Of course, this is the 78th NBA season. Kennedy equals 78, like Boston Celtics. Of course, RFK died on the Boston Celtics birthday, which is the day of game 1 of this year's NBA Finals, which was the 78th game of the playoffs. But again, we're going to bring it all together, how it all fits together. The history, the scripted sports, the scripted news, the scripted politics, the high rituals in everyone's face. And again, we'll hope one more time we reach a few new people and people start to understand how history does repeat itself. And again, how those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, and how history is literally being manufactured by a code that's constantly paying tribute to history. So we'll cover those stories. Also review a few things we touched on yesterday. Yesterday was the kill date as well, and there was the death of a Jesuit politician here from Washington State. He went to Gonzaga, and George Nethercutt died for no real clear explanation on this date. We'll talk more about it, but George Nethercutt, 79. The Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, have that 79 connection. Never forget when the pandemic was declared on the 79th day of Anthony Fauci being 79 years old. The Jesuit who foretold it all 10 days before Trump even took office at the Pandemic Preparedness Conference at Jesuit Georgetown. Again, Anthony Fauci explained why there would be a major epidemic in the time of the Trump administration at a Pandemic Preparedness Conference, again, at Jesuit Georgetown. And all these 144s, Jesuit Order 144, that there's a lot more to it. We'll put it all together, but We'll hit that story as well. And uh, also some raging fires in wetlands in Brazil. That sounds interesting. Fires in wetlands. Going to look at what's funny about that. And then we'll also talk about some of the sports rituals they had on Trump's birthday. Again, just reminding how they pay tribute with these rigged games by the numbers to these larger than life figures on the world stage, the Donald Trumps, the Joe Bidens, if you will. Okay, so again, Stoneman Douglas shooting Valentine's Day, a day associated with massacres, the gangster massacre, the Valentine's Day massacre in Chicago. But then it happens at Stoneman Douglas. And remember, what was interesting about it is Stoneman Douglas are the Eagles. And if you look at their logo from the time of when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, which was just days before the shooting, and remember, the Eagles won the Super Bowl in Minneapolis. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is from Minneapolis. Remember that Minneapolis is the 612 area code, a number all over mass shootings again and again. For example, Stoneman Douglas happened 612 days after the Pulse nightclub shooting in Florida on June 12th, 612. And then Alex Jones was made to liquidate on this same day, 612 days from being ordered to pay the Sandy Hook families. But again, Philadelphia won that Super Bowl, the Eagles, in Minneapolis right before this happened. And if you recall at the time of the story, they were connecting former pro athletes who went to the high school, Rizzo in the MLB, the hockey player whose name's escaping me right now. It's dawning on me that Parkland, Florida is right next to where the Florida Panthers play, who are up 3-0 in the Stanley Cup. So the NBA Finals, the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs began on the same day, the 111th day of the year. Kennedy has that 111 gematria as well as 78. It's the 78th NBA season. They're definitely paying tribute to the dead Kennedys, especially JFK from Massachusetts, killed in Dallas with the NBA Finals. It looks like they're doing it in the NHL as well. And I forgot that the Parkland was, I wasn't really seeing how Parkland was intertwined with all of this until now. It just dawns on me like, wait a minute, JFK dead in Parkland Hospital. Okay, I see what they're doing here. So, okay, let's go through it piece by piece. 45th day of the year shooting. They start to tear down the school on number 45's birthday. And notice from June 14th, Flag Day. Let's not forget that either. Flag Day, right? They start tearing down the school on Flag Day. That whole rigged NFL season where the Eagles beat the Patriots, which we called out like in spades in week 3, was all about the flag and national anthem protests. And we just talked about how that was Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota, which equals 52. And it was all set on the 23rd of September when Trump took on the protesters of the flag, when the flag was sewn at Philly at 239 Arch Street. So we were talking about how that whole NFL season had to do with the flag and Trump having the same birthday as the flag and why he took on the protesters the day he did and the season he did when he took office while the flag was 239 years old, turned 247 yesterday. But yeah, now here we are on Flag Day, and they're tearing down the high school that became part of the shooting that was connected to the Super Bowl ritual. And again, I put all this in a book in 2018. So now here we are in 2024, just backing it up more. And we're talking about the same number patterns back then. Again, page 29 of that nearly 800-page book says all of this traces back to the Catholic Church and the Jesuits. But yeah, these rituals go down 144 days before the election. Elections, politics, mass shootings, politics. 144 days. And in light of Parkland Hospital being where JFK died, that phrase Kennedy curse has that 144. Parkland, Florida, Parkland Hospital. Again, JFK died 144 days from meeting with the Pope. His brother died at 1:44 a.m. The United States of America also has the gematria of 144. And again, the USA, the president at the time was James Madison, and the Jesuits came out of suppression 144 days after his birthday. RFK dead at 1:44 in the morning. JFK dead 144 days to meet with the Pope. And consider, JFK dead at 46. Catholic equals 46 like sacrifice. Joe Biden, number 46, is also meeting with the Pope on this day. 144 days before the election on Trump's birthday, when both Biden and Trump are Jesuit educated. And again, Trump met with the Pope May 24th, 2017, the 144th day of the year, right after stopping by Israel for Jerusalem Day. Again, Israel set up in a huge Jesuit ritual by the numbers. Learn the code and you can see what really runs Israel. It's the same thing that runs this nation. But yeah, these rituals going down on Trump's 78th birthday when Biden took office while he was 78 years old in the Kennedy parallels. Kennedy equals 78. Again, the 78th NBA season, the 78th NBA championship that began with the 78th playoff game of this season that began on the Celtics' 78th birthday. Again, Kennedy's from Massachusetts, JFK dead in Dallas. RFK killed at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. The other year, the Ambassador Hotel in Dallas burned down right before JFK's birthday anniversary. And in light of Robert Kennedy, in light of his death being synced with the Celtics championship in '68, we'll talk more about that in a minute when we look at the sports rituals they had. But again, this year the finals began on his death anniversary, June 6th. Notice Robert Kennedy has the same gematria as Boston Celtics with the alphabetic order 156, the same gematria with the reverse alphabetic order 195. Again, we know what they did to Bill Walton, dead at 71 the day the Celtics advanced to the finals. Celtics equals 71. The election this year is on Bill Walton's birthday. He would have turned 72, like Biden became senator-elect in 72 and lost his son, Beau Biden, at 46 when Joe was 72. Of course, Jesuit Order 72. There's a reason we got the first Jesuit Pope on the 72nd day of the year, March 13, 2013. Don't forget, again, Luka, the star of Dallas, number 77. The series began while Trump was 77 years old. The finals were set in the 77th playoff game. Trump's son has citizenship in Slovenia, like Melania, like Luka Doncic, number 77, their star. Trump's backed by the Adelson family. Miriam Adelson took over the Mavericks at age 78 this year by the numbers. Again, President Donald Trump, 248. The Illuminati, 248 years old, founded the same day as the Mavericks. The U.S. about to turn 248 years old. The 248th playoff game of the Mavericks was the game that was fudged to Game 4 of Trump's age the day all these rituals were going down. Again, the election was called for Trump in 2016 when he was at 248 electoral votes. He got a break from the trial in New York on the Illuminati's birthday and the Mavericks' birthday, which was the 248th birthday, so that he could campaign that day when President Donald Trump equals 248, like Manhattan Criminal Court, where he was. But yeah, all of these perfect scripts that are even deeper. I mean, let's not even forget the whole Batman Joker piece with the courthouse Trump was in by the numbers. How Trump was first in court on what would have been Heath Ledger's 44th birthday on 4/4. On the eve of Passover, which began on 4/5 that year, and Passover equals 34, and they changed one charge into 34 so they could have the 34 Passover ritual. Again, if you missed all that, you need to go back and check how important the 34 was and why they made one charge into 34, which should show everybody it's a number game. I mean, Trump could have just been guilty on one charge because literally all 34 charges were based in one single charge. I mean, think about how dumb that is. Then you learn gematria, and you're like, oh, no wonder they manipulated it so hard. Passover 34, Jesus 34, church 34, cross 34. He's comparing himself to Jesus. The Passover time. Again, Passover started on 4/5, the day after he appeared in court. A year later, he's found guilty 45 days after the trial began. Juan Merchant equals 45. Stormy Daniels, 45 years old. Again, it was 45 days from the anniversary of the death of his ex-wife, who died 45 years after their marriage. And now here we are back to the Parkland school shooting on his birthday, the latest chapter, when he was number 45. And again, it all started with Obama joking on the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan that Trump would be the 45th president, April 30th, 2011. Again, that was 45 days before Trump's birthday as well. But again, the highest degree of the Church of Satan, mega. I mean, you associate Satan with evil. Look at how evil this system is. Ritual, sacrifice, everything's rigged. Mass mind manipulation. Mass mockery. For the record, if you throw a the Jesuit orders 177 with the Jesuit order, 177.69, just like Parkland Hospital. Remember, Hunter Biden's 177, found guilty 177 days after the Pope's birthday, the first Jesuit Pope. You know how we talked about how this Mavericks Celtics series began with the Mavericks or the Celtics 46-40 versus the Mavericks all time. Celtics equals 46. Joe Biden's Secret Service name is Celtic. Again, what happened to John Havlicek, dead the day he announced he was running for president. And you know, that 156 I had up here earlier, remember, it was 156 days after Joe Biden's birthday when he announced he was running for president, and John Havlicek, the Celtic, died. Boston Celtics and Robert Kennedy, 156. Biden has the same birthday as RFK, not Junior. And let's not forget, Junior got in the race 144 days after the Superior General's birthday, and RFK Jr., Jesuit educated at Georgetown Prep. But well, one of the big things we're talking about is how they were 46-40. The 46 obviously mattered. It went with JFK dying at age 46 in Dallas, Catholic equaling 46, and Joe Biden being elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. But the other thing was Boston had outscored Dallas by 107 points. John Fitzgerald Kennedy equals 107, like shooting. And again, JFK would have turned 107 this year. Notice the Mavericks got their first win of these finals 107 weeks and 3 days after the Uvalde, Texas shooting on the 144th day of the year. And remember, Joe Biden showed up to talk about that in Texas on JFK's birthday, May 29th. We were talking about that then. How perfect that he shows up on JFK's birthday when JFK died in a big 144 ritual in Texas. And Joe Biden said at the beginning of his administration there was going to be major gun control. And RFK, 10 days before he got shot, campaigned that the nation needed much larger gun control. And by the way, from the day that RFK was shot to the day of the nation's first major gun control legislation, it was 139 days later. And remember, gun control equals 139. RFK was shot June 5th. From that day to October 22nd, the first major gun control action in the U.S. where every gun had to have a serial number on it after that date. That was 139 days later. Gun control's 139. And in this case, look at Parkland. Remember, major movement for gun control after Parkland. There's been a lot of rituals with gun control in 139 we've covered over the years. But RFK is a classic example. And again, just how all of this is fitting together at this moment. But yeah, again, year after year, the sports and the news all scripted together. And again, Chet Walker died right after game one of the NBA Finals where the Celtics won with 107 points. And they were up at one point in the game 63-35. Like JFK, number 35, killed on I-35 in Dallas in 63. But Chet Walker, his rookie season ended in 63. He dies right after game one's 107 ritual, 107 days after his own birthday. We talked about how yesterday, how the Supreme Court struck down the Trump-era bump stock ban that came out of the Parkland shooting largely. It was passed at the end of that year. There's a lot to this, but we were pointing out, again, the Attorney General who signed off on the ban that got overturned, even his name, Matthew George Whitaker, 107. Again, just how it all fits together, all the right characters for the script. Now, what's making the rounds right now in social media is how Alex Jones and Carl Tuckerson just did a video together, and Carl Tuckerson saying he sees some assassination plot coming for Donald Trump. Yesterday, the Celtics got their 100, or not the Celtics. Yesterday, the Mavericks got their 118th all-time win in the playoffs. We talked about this in yesterday's stream, how that was a real possibility because that's a big number with the Celtics, 118. Again, these are the four base ciphers. Celtics 71 forwards like Bill Walton did at 71 the day the Celtics advanced to the finals. Cancer and Pacers equal 26. Remember, Rick Carlisle, the coach of the Pacers, he got swept. He stayed on 71 wins in the playoffs all time, and he fell to 26-26 with the Pacers. Cancer equals 26 and 118. Bill Walton's reported dead with from cancer. Bill Walton was part of that UCLA team. UCLA equals 71 that had the perfect season that began in 71. And it went into 72. Like the day of the election would have been his 72nd birthday, Bill Walton, when both President Biden and President Trump equal 72, like Jesuit order. Again, Biden became senator-elect in 72. But yeah, and again, Celtics 46, going with Joe Biden, number 46, his Secret Service name being Celtic. We just saw how years ago in his 46th year of life, Pistol Pete died 46 days after Joe Biden's birthday. And it goes to show how long the rituals are taking place for these planned actors on the world stage and the positions they're eventually going to be in. You know, that happened many years before Joe Biden became president. But now looking back, it's like, well, I don't think that was an accident. This is what's been going on. But yeah, the other piece about 118, it's a fateful number. It's a death number. In Jewish gematria, again, Derek renamed the cipher Latin a year or so ago. But death and homicide in this cipher are both 118. Death is 118. Homicide is 118. And I'll always remember when I first started this research and I didn't know about this cipher. I kept just documenting, looking into deaths in history, 118, and I couldn't figure out what it was all about. It's like, what's with this 118 number? And then you learn about, oh, there's this other cipher out there. And it tries to pay more tribute to the way the letters are structured in Hebrew gematria and Greek isopsephy. But yeah, it is interesting that the Mavericks got their 118th playoff win all time in that game yesterday on Trump's birthday. And again, every game had 3 days spacing, except for yesterday's game. It was 2 days after the last. So they could get it in the 78th season on Trump's 78th birthday. Here, Mavericks playoff record. You're going to see they're now 118 and 130. They played their 248th game. And again, President Donald Trump, 248. The election called for him in 2016 on 248 electoral votes. It was called for him in the early hours of November 9th, 119. The country's going to be 248 years old when the 119th Congress takes office. And again, tarot cards equals 119. And there's 78 tarot cards in the deck, and the top cards are Trump cards. So you got Trump at age 78 with the 119th Congress upcoming when they already did this ritual back in 2016. Last night, Kyrie Irving got his 63rd win in the playoffs. Remember, Kyrie Irving was connected to that 2016 Cleveland team that won on the real King James's birthday right before Trump had his convention there. And Cleveland equals 78. Kennedy equals 78. Again, Trump's trying to be like Grover Cleveland, becoming the nation's second split-term president. Grover Cleveland was the 22nd president and the 24th. There was a president between him. And then I think it was it Harrison that was between them? Oh, we got Kamala Harris in the wings. But yeah, Trump, if Trump won, he would have been 45 in the past, and then he'd either be potentially number 47 or 48 if Biden doesn't finish his term. Trump equals 47. Donald Trump equals 48. Yesterday for his birthday, he was hanging out at Club 47. And of course, Trump's been doing 47 rituals a lot. In 2016, when he won the election, he was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel. Again, president, White House, government authority, they all have that big 47 connection. Biden's the most 47 guy there ever was, but Trump's got it too. And yeah, just with regards to the hockey team that's on the verge of winning the Stanley Cup, unless Canada can be one of few to come back from 0-3. In baseball, the first team to come back from 0-3 was Boston, which is interesting. But yeah, Parkland is just outside the hockey stadium for the Florida Panthers. And I'm reminded how if you recall, right after the Parkland shooting, they got a big story because they won like the state hockey tournament right after the shooting. If you go back and look, Parkland won big in the state hockey tournament. And again, this whole Minnesota connection too, because like Minnesota's known for hockey. This year in the West Stanley Cup Western Finals before the main event, it was Dallas playing. So you had a Dallas. What was it again? Oh, I know what it was. In the NBA, you had Dallas and Minnesota, and then you also had Dallas playing the Edmonton Oilers. And in history, the Dallas Stars used to be in Minnesota. So there's some other larger piece to this. But yeah, now with the school coming down at this exact moment, it just it shows. It's all related. Okay, so we'll come back and look a little bit more at the basketball connection, but again, because this was the same day that Alex Jones uh, was in the headlines again for his payment to the Sandy Hook families. Just to go back and remember the parallels more closely, and there's more than this, but just some of the parallels with Sandy Hook and Stoneman Douglas. Again, they did report that the majority of victims, that 7 people were shot and killed in room 1214. No other room had more casualties. And 1214, I mean, that was that's the date of Sandy Hook. Okay. It's just like, and by the way, the other thing they said about room 1214, if you want to go back and look, they said that those students were in the class that was here. I'll let you choose between A, B, C to see test your knowledge of if you've been paying attention to these things. The students in room 1214 were in A, they were in health class. B, they were in algebra. Or C, they were in Holocaust remembrance class. The answer is C. They were in Holocaust remembrance class. So we're told. Um, and again, you just think about psychological operations and just trying to put trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. So anyway, um, this was the first image out. You know, we're here documenting the headlines. This is the day of the shooting, February 14th, 2018. My old website, my old book, Letters and Numbers. Um, the last shooting in that book, I was pretty much done writing the book in 2017. I was trying to find somebody who would publish it. I ran into a problem because I'd used a lot of news headlines and I had not asked all these news sources for their headlines, so nobody wanted to publish the book. I didn't think it was going to be a problem because anyone can get those headlines anywhere. But it took me a while, and then that time, you know, the Stoneman Douglas shooting happened, so I ended up putting that in the book as well. So that's like one of the last things in Letters and Numbers. But look at it. Look at the gematria. Sandy Hook Elementary School, 113. Stoneman Douglas High School, 113. And it's funny because, you know, there's that infamous verse in the Talmud in Bava Kama 113a where it says it's okay for somebody who's Jewish to lie to somebody who is not, as long as it's within a legal setting. And again, you got the majority of victims in Holocaust remembrance class, and it's a predominantly Jewish neighborhood. And you got David Hogg going on TV, you know, boasting about being from a family of government connections and how he's going to outlive all the conspiracy theorists questioning what happened at his school when he wasn't even there when the shooting happened. And it's like, okay, why is a kid who already graduated from there? Remember? And then they had that shaved head chick and she wasn't there either. She'd already graduated. It's like, why are the spokespeople for this shooting kids who'd already graduated who weren't there the day of the shooting? Doesn't that seem weird? I mean, nobody asked any questions. It's like, okay, I can get it. Community, they used to be there. They might have had some kind of leadership position at the school, but I would still think that the people that they'd really be talking to were the people who were actually there when it happened. Um, so yeah, these 113 is just a big time number that I've discussed from a million different angles since I got here in the beginning. And you know, we were talking about that just so many times before this even rolled around. Yeah, there's a there was a lot to this shooting. But yeah, here we are years later, and the hits keep on coming. So anyhow, and they did things like this too. After there's more than just this story, but in the time after Stoneman Douglas, where it stayed as a constant focus, the students from the school, the March for Our Lives campaign, they're doing this. There were several stories like this as well. Father of Sandy Hook victim dies from an apparent suicide, and he was Jeremy Richmond. And hold on. Jeremy Richmond, 142, like Parkland, Florida. And again, just all kinds of little interesting number synchronicities that show up all the time. But here, this was a week after this also happened. It said last week, Sydney Iao, a 2018 graduate of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, died in suicide. She survived the attack on Valentine's Day 2018 that killed 17 people at the school in Parkland, Florida. Okay, so just that story from Sandy Hook, and then um, this was another Stoneman Douglas related suicide story. They had to post that one at 10:42 a.m. It's got that same 142 sequence. But yeah, it was Sandy Hook and Stoneman Douglas. They've just run a lot of parallels in the news if you've been following it, just bringing these stories together. So, um, anyhow. But yeah, it's just unbelievable. Joe Biden, remember last year on August 9th, 2023, one of the headlines early in the morning was the feds arrested a Utah man who had been plotting to kill Joe Biden. And we were talking about how that's the day leaving 144 days left in the year. And in history, JFK, his infant child, died on that day right before he died on November 22nd in that same year in a big 144 ritual. But then remember last year, you had the Biden story in the morning, and then in the evening time, the news broke about down in South America. Let me see if I just write August 9th assassination, if it'll pop up. But you had the political candidate assassinated, and he was born in 63 and he died 63 days from his birthday, like JFK in 63. Um, oh, shoot. I was thinking that would pull it up. Hold on. Let's try 2023. See if that helps. Oh, yeah, that's right. The jury deliberated in the New York versus Trump trial on JFK's 107th birthday, and remember um, that's when De Niro was outside, and again, De Niro's Taxi Driver film. That character is modeled after Arthur Bremer, who shot George Wallace, the 45th governor of Alabama, when he was campaigning. Um, and then with the whole Joker connection with the courtroom, same courtroom where they just filmed Joker. Uh, De Niro was in the last Joker film, and he gets shot on live TV by the Joker. And of course, Donald Trump said he was Batman because he's like Bruce Wayne, a name that equals 45 in Gematria. But hold up. Why? Was it Ecuador? Was it Ecuador that happened? Let me see. I think it was Ecuador. It was. So look at this. Now it's all coming back to me. That on the day leaving 144 days last year. It starts with the Joe Biden scare, and we'd been covering this the whole 144 and assassins thing all day, and then this ended up breaking at the end of the day. Um, this was posted at CNN at 11:14 p.m. on August 9th. But this man, 63 days before his birthday, he is shot, and he was born in 63, October 11th, born just before the JFK assassination in 63. And around that time, you also had the death of the dead Kennedy's drummer at age 63. Died 111 days after his birthday. Dead Kennedy's is 111. When you just run the name Kennedy in reverse, it's 111. He died 15 weeks and 6 days after his birthday as well. Robert Kennedy with the 156. They're doing that again. That's been a thing, and that could be the ultimate ritual. Dallas could make history in the biggest 156 ritual ever if they came back and won the series versus Boston. They'd make the Celtics 15-6 in the playoffs. They fell to 15-3 last night, and right now the record in NBA playoffs is teams with a 3-0 lead are 156-0 when leading 3-0. That's the current record with the Boston Celtics, which also equals 156. If they win game 5, they'll win it on 617, the Celtics, and that's the area code in Boston, 617, which is the 113th prime, and the National Basketball Association is 113 like Dallas. If Boston doesn't close it out on that day, which would be a very fitting day, it'd be like LA winning the Super Bowl on 213 when they're the 213 area code. Again, Boston's the 617 area code. Game 5's on 617. But if Boston doesn't win that game, you just never know. Sports get dumber and dumber as time goes on. Last night they made it seem like, whoa, Dallas is just like, whoa, man, you haven't seen a defense like this in basketball. It's like, come on, man, in this era of no basketball, when they're just talking about how nobody on this team can match up with the Celtics. Pro sports are so stupid, you guys. And we'll get to why they won by 38 last night. It has a lot to do with how Mavericks equals 38. And when JFK died, they had to announce some 38 minutes ago. That's what Walter Cronkite said when he broke the news. And as I talk about this, drummer, it's the most fateful position for bands historically. Drummer has that gematria 38, like murder, like killing, like death, like RIP. But yeah, that was the dead Kennedy's drummer. Can't get RFK Jr. to bring up anything about this. You think he would? Hold up. I'm just looking at my old notes on this. So reading about this assassination last year, and again, if you weren't here last year, I mean, go back and watch the videos. All day I was just focused on the history of 144 and assassinations, and then this story broke at the end of the day. It's like, come on, man. Like, why are people in the world with big platforms not helping us get out the word? Do you remember that Trump's ex-wife died 144 days after her birthday in that big Jesuit ritual the other year? 45 years after their marriage, and got buried on the 201st day of the year. Here, this assassination said on August 9th, 2023, 2 weeks before the general election, Villavicencio spoke at a Movimiento Construye political rally at Colegio Anderson in Quito. He concluded speaking at approximately 1820 Eastern Time and left. While entering a white truck surrounded by guards, he was shot in the head 3 times. He was rushed to a nearby. I mean, like, Wikipedia is just such trash. By who? God. He was surrounded by guards and was shot in the head by who? He was rushed to a nearby clinic where he was pronounced dead. 9 people were injured, including, it's interesting the 9 because the next U.S. president to die in office will be the 9th. And remember, Trump is number 45, but Biden's the 45th person to be president, and 45 is the 9th triangular number. The attacker also threw a grenade towards Villavicencio's followers, but it did not explode. Armed men attacked. Videos of the attack began circulating around social media shortly after his death was confirmed. The place where he was, Colegio Anderson equals 156 and 78. Isn't that interesting? Kennedy and the Robert Kennedy thing. And okay. But Ecuador, not to be outdone, Ecuador's establishment date is the 144th day of the year. May 24th. That's the day Trump was with the Pope in 2017. The first Jesuit Pope and Jesuit-educated Donald Trump, who went to Fordham. Biden went to a Jesuit prep school in Delaware. I forget the name of it. But yeah, they're both Jesuit-educated. That was also on Bob Dylan's birthday. Remember, Bob Dylan put out that song by the numbers about the JFK assassination. Okay. All right. So that is that. And it's just something else how Biden and Zelensky do the ritual in Italy at the G7. And then on the next day, the day leaving, or 144 days to the election. Again, President Biden equals 144 as well, just like Jesuit order. And again, Jesuit Georgetown, look it up. Transition Integrity Project, June 12th, 2020. They simulated the election and that Biden would narrowly beat Trump and Trump would refuse to step down and it would lead to a deadly altercation, all simulated by the Jesuits 144 days before the November 3rd, 2020 election. Georgetown all boarded up before anything even happened. The Transition Integrity Project? I mean, like, had it ever been that big of a problem before? You can't see who's manufacturing the narratives by a code? You're coming to my channel and saying God's doing this, not Jesuits? Okay, so or Satan's doing it, whatever you're saying. So you're just gonna ignore just like the perfect Jesuit fingerprint everywhere. You're gonna say they have nothing to do with it. Well, Satan's just working through them. Okay, if Satan or God or whatever you want to say is working through them, what happens if you do something about them? What then Satan loses its vessel? I just I don't understand these comments people leave. I think it's just like some people inside they just want to have to do nothing and they just want to keep waiting and believing for the savior to come take care of all the problems. It's like the only reason these problems continue to go on is because people remain ignorant to what's going on. If everyone figures out the game as well as we got it figured out, they're not being manipulated by it. We've been demonstrating what it is not to be manipulated by this system for a long time. You saw how beneficial that was when 2020 came around, the big Jesuit scam that we saw coming a million miles away. Here's Ivana Trump, 144 days after her February 20th birthday, 220. And here, didn't we just have this guy who signed off on the thing that got overturned on Trump's birthday? Both their names are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers, including the 220. I think this is one of the chosen brides from the Eastern Bloc. Trump's got all these Eastern Bloc women as the Eastern Bloc is beefing in the world. And he's saying, if I was in there, I'd have it all solved. You know what I mean? Donald Trump called Pres-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall when he wants to build walls. He's doing the opposite of Reagan, but he's running on MAGA. Again, this is the most Jesuit thing there ever was. It's not just the 144 thing. She died exactly 60 weeks into the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year on the day that Trump hinted for the first time he was going to run in the 60th election. Again, JFK in 1960, Lincoln in 1860, both assassinated. The word order equals 60. The Jesuits, their first 10 years with the Catholic Church, there was a cap, 60 members on the Jesuit order. Again, they're married in 77. She's dead 45 years later. And she died on 14/7, like President of the United States is 147 to go with the 147 windows on the White House. Look how they even have to post at 9:27 a.m. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's the day the Jesuits were recognized by Rome, September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year to counter the 95 Theses. Okay. Again, just real quick, just Alex Jones and Donald Trump became attached to the hip in the elections from Sandy Hook shooting to Alex Jones liquidation of his assets being approved to pay the Sandy Hook families exactly 138 months later when Alex Jones and Donald Trump are 138 happens on Trump's birthday. He's rejected for his bankruptcy plan by the court when Trump's been, the master of getting the bankruptcies in his life. He's had a lot of them, which means he's had a lot of his debts paid for by the taxpayers. And again, it's funny how bankruptcy has that gematria 58 because that's the number super attached to Trump, who won the 58th election after announcing he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. And again, just for the record, the federal's also 138. There's a whole lot more to the Alex Jones thing if you missed yesterday's coverage, what it had to do with Waco. And again, that's where Alex Jones got his break. Covered that in a big way yesterday. But the 138 thing is just obvious and blatant. And CNN had to write a feature article about the significance of Trump being 78 and he'd be the oldest person to ever take office if he won. Biden was also 78, but Trump will be deeper into that age than Biden was. Trump's born June 14th. Biden's born later in the year, November 20th. And again, with regards to the Alex Jones piece, Alex Jones is on the Genesis radio network, which has that 78 connection. There's a lot more to all of this. Again, David Koresh was the main sacrifice at 33 in Waco. Alex Jones, Mr. 33, benefited from Waco. He became famous after that, and he became a lot more famous after 9/11 and is supposedly sneaking into Bohemian Grove. And remember, last Friday, he was in the news with Clarence Thomas, and Clarence Thomas got the money that paid for his trip to Bohemian Grove. And we were talking about how Alex Jones, Clarence Thomas on the same day in the news when Alex Jones again made his name sneaking into Bohemian Grove. And that news story was 138 days before Clarence Thomas anniversary of becoming it was 138 days before his 33rd anniversary of being a Supreme Court justice. And Alex Jones and Federal are both 138 and 33. But David Koresh, again, 181. It was the 181st day of the Pope's age that Alex Jones is pretty much finished with InfoWars. That's the 42nd prime. InfoWars is 42, like Waco, like a lot of other things that are relevant. The Pope's 87. Waco siege is 87. Again, the Waco siege happened on Ignatius of Loyola Day, April 19th, when Ignatius of Loyola equals 87, the founder of the Jesuits. So again, think about the magic of this now when the Pope's 87, this perfect ritual synced with Alex Jones, which shows that he's been their little controlled opposition puppet for likely all this time. We pointed out he always had the magic numbers all over him, being born on the 42nd day of the year, what's coded in his name, his year of birth. But yeah, Waco siege, 87 and 42. Now on the 181st day of the Pope being 87, when 181's the 42nd prime, it's all. And again, to me, it's just a story. It's like the story is now that Alex Jones, who was this much wealthier person who had this great ownership of his news network, just now has to hand it over to other people. I'm pretty sure it's always been in the hands of other people. And what his benefit in that was just getting fame and a lot wealthier than he would otherwise be. But it's a show that he's this self-made guy. And remember, Bill Cooper, who died on Remember the 5th of November. His birthday's May 6th, and he died on the day, leaving 56 days left in the year. But he said that Alex Jones was a lying fraud, before his death shortly after 9/11. And, of course, Alex Jones copied Bill Cooper's 9/11 prediction. That was one of the things that Bill Cooper called out. So... and again, just right here on the kill date, once a month, a date comes up that has 3 numerology or sometimes all 4 that correspond with the Gematria kill. Kill equals 17, 28, 44, and 64. Yesterday's date numerology had the 28, 44, 64. Usually there's quite a few suspicious deaths or mass shooting type stories. In this case, there was a lot of shooting related stuff. Court rulings, Alex Jones on this date, which fits because the word shooting is also 44. JFK was the 44th term president. The JFK tributes. But one death that was in the headlines, a Jesuit-educated politician went to Gonzaga. Dead at age 79. Again, George Nethercutt is 79, like Society of Jesus. And he graduated from Gonzaga in 71. Somewhere out there, there's a sign of me at the Gonzaga campus. I gave the sign to some students showing how Gonzaga equals 71, like Catholic. Again, remember the whole war popped off in Jesuit-controlled Israel on Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days from the Pope's birthday. But, yeah... Trump turned 78 yesterday. He begins his 79th year of life. This man was a Republican politician. Something tells me that's not an accident. As Trump begins his 79th year of life, this man's dead at 79. And remember, it's not just Society of Jesus that equals 79. Knights Templar equals 79. Christianity equals 79. Yeshua equals 79. 79 is the 22nd prime, the last chapter of the Bible, Revelation, 22 chapters about the return of Jesus. 22, of course, is a special number. 22 letters in Kabbalah, the master builder number. Washington State, where he's from, has one of the most interesting flags. Of course, it's the flag that has George Washington on it. It's also the only green flag in the U.S. He died on Flag Day. The flag turned 247 years old yesterday because its birthday is 1777, the year after the country. June 14th, 1777. Eastern Washington equals 247. Again, that's where this man was from, Eastern Washington. And as you can see, a lot of the headlines refer to him as a Eastern Washington congressman. So, and if you guys are newer here, the other year when Gonzaga lost to Baylor University, that was the 82nd March Madness tournament. Baylor University equals 82. Remember, Gonzaga was going for the perfect season. It hadn't happened since Indiana, and the championship game was in Indiana. And earlier that year in December, Baylor and Gonzaga were scheduled to play in Indiana, but it got canceled supposedly due to a COVID outbreak, but then it ended up being the championship in the same place. Elgin Baylor died at 86, just days before that game was played, where Baylor beat Gonzaga with 86 points. Remember, Jesuits equals 86. Elgin Baylor went to the Jesuit. There's Again, there's only 27 Jesuit universities in the U.S., only 27. Two are in Washington State, though. The first one's in Washington, D.C., Georgetown, which was created in 1789, the year George Washington was inaugurated at age 57. And for the record, Georgetown equals 57 like Rome. But like Scottish Rite, which has its headquarters there. And again, Jesuit priests wrote the rites of the Scottish Rite. But Elgin Baylor went to Seattle University, the Jesuits, one of two Jesuit schools in Washington State, Gonzaga and Seattle U. Elgin Baylor, the best basketball player from Seattle U, dead right before Baylor beats Gonzaga. And from Elgin Baylor's last birthday to the championship game was 201 days later. The Jesuit Order 201. Aloysius de Gonzaga equals 201, what Gonzaga is named after. Ignatius of Loyola equals 201, the founder of the Jesuits. Jorge Mario Bergoglio equals 201. That's Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope. On and on and on. Huge number with the Jesuits is 201. But this man, dead on June 14th. Remember, Flag Day to December 31st, those are the last 201 days of the year. June 14th is the first of the last 201 days of the year. If you look at June 14th, it'll say 200 days remaining. That's true. But if you include June 14th, it's the first of the last 201 days. So yeah, I don't think it's an accident the way all that worked out. The day he passes. We've been to Gonzaga a few times. There's several copies of my book floating around the Gonzaga campus because I gave out a bunch to students. And I do remember, though, what disappointing thing I had happen, though. I remember there was a student who spent a long time with us one of the times we were there, and he was really into the book, and he came back hours later. He's like, man, can I get another copy? My dad will just love this. I said, are you sure about that? And but I gave that kid a second copy that day. He spent a lot of time there. But then when I was back there, whatever, maybe 6 months went by, and I went back, he walked by that day, and he's like, hey, Zach. I was like, hey, what's up, man? And he didn't have any time to talk to us. He came back by later. I said, you don't have anything to say to us? He's like, I can't talk to you. I was just like, I was starting to think in my head. I was like, I wonder if he gave his dad the book and it didn't go over like he thought it was. And his dad told him, you want me to keep paying $40,000 a year tuition? Don't bring me home any shit like this. I think it was something like that. But I was like, what happened to him? He was so on board, man. I even gave him a second book. Okay. People are funny. All right. Yeah, in the news this morning, it looks like the New York Times broke this news. Don't forget, the New York Times equals 78, like Jesuits. Always been controlled by Jesuits. But in the middle of the night, early today, it looks like they were the first ones to put out the story about they agreed to terms for the upcoming debate. And remember, the upcoming debate's on the day leaving 187 days left in the year, that very special number, old 187. Fits in with the whole Kennedy assassination and so many other things. JFK assassination equals 187, happened in the 187th year of the nation's existence. Remember, Washington, D.C.'s 187, like George Washington, like ancient and accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, like Society of Jesus, like Holy Roman Empire, like Brotherhood of Death, on and on and on. Even the word Abrahamic alone is 187 when you run it in reverse, going with the 187 chapters in the Torah that the Abrahamic religions are based in. But yeah, the first debate on the day leaving 187 days left in the year. It reminds us that from Trump's birthday to the Pope's is a span of 187 days. Trump had the huge 187 ritual in 2016. His convention began on 18/7, July 18th, 187 days from Inauguration Day. In history, that was the day of the San Ysidro Massacre, 187 days from the death of Ray Kroc. He was the founder of McDonald's. The San Ysidro Massacre was in a McDonald's. But they're saying the only other person who could possibly end up in this debate is RFK. So we'll see if they end up getting a Kennedy in there. You know, I really do hope that RFK's in there, even though he's another one of these controlled opposition. It would make the debate a lot more interesting. It's funny, you start to think about it. All three, if all three of them are up there, they're all Jesuit educated. They've all had a wife die. They've all had a wife die. I mean, how many men can? I mean, more often than not, the man dies before the woman. All three of these guys have lost their wives, all in suspicious ways. You don't think they're all in the club? It's funny how my mom can see it with Biden and Trump, but she'll never see it with RFK. Not Robbie. Not Robbie Jr. As he does every last Jesuit ritual, gets in the race 144 days after the Superior General's birthday, gives his first speech on Ignatius of Loyola Day, gathers all the people in D.C. to protest against the mandates on Georgetown's birthday. Every last thing he does, little Jesuit salute. Old RFK Jr. Okay, these massive fires in wetlands. I mean, how does that even happen? I mean, that sounds like some napalm was dropped. Massive fires in wetlands? Okay, so anyway, I start looking at this, right? And I'm like, okay, what that seems weird. But I start noticing all the images they have of this, and I looked into it more. I think it began before June 10th, but I'm looking at just like the photos over and over here. All the photos are from June 10th, right? So I'm like, okay, June 10th, that was the day the Hunter Biden jury deliberated. That was the 177th day of the Pope's age. Again, Hunter Biden was 177. That's what we're talking about that day. But look at the name of these wetlands that are on fire. Pantanal Wetlands, 177. Media focused on how the fire spread on that day rapidly. Again, order out of chaos. I don't know if these people are mad geniuses, and you have to go to these devastating tactics to get people's attention so that they'll submit to an agenda that will actually save the earth, or I mean, if they're just as insane and evil as it just looks. It's like I feel like there's a better way to save the earth and set wetlands on fire, probably with probably with napalm or God knows what they used. But yeah, it's just, and don't forget Ignatius Loyola, one of his quotes is go forth and set the world on fire. But yes, there's a lot of dispute that's a mischaracterization of what he said. It's funny though, that phrase go forth and set the world on fire equals 144. And we've seen plenty of Jesuit rituals with weird fires in 144. And the Jesuit orders 177, like New World Order. And this is in South America. And remember, you're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope who's from South America, Argentina. Remember, they moved the World Cup to one day after his 86th birthday, and Argentina won their first World Cup since 86, sick with the death of Diego Maradona from not long before that. And they beat France, and France fell to 2-2 in the World Cup in 22 when there's 22 men on the field. And it's Pope Francis. Argentina over France. The Jesuits from France. Jesuits equals 86. It's a big old 86 ritual. Okay, so that was that. And about baseball games yesterday. So the Yankees and the Red Sox. Notice the Yankees won 8-1. Again, the Yankees are Trump's eight. The Yankees are Trump's team. New York guy. President Trump equals 81, like President Biden equals 81. They both equal 72 forwards, 81 in reverse. And again, Biden supposedly got 81 million votes, and he's 81 years old right now, and he's from Scranton on Interstate 81. But the Yankees beat Boston 8-1, and then it was a bad day for Boston because they got their ass kicked in baseball and basketball, and the basketball game was the 81st game of the NBA playoffs that fell on Trump's birthday when there's all this symbolism with the election. Remember, the Celtics started 15-2, or they started the series 3-0, which made them 15-2 for the playoffs. Like Joe Biden equals 152, who again his Secret Service name is Celtic, and Game 1 was 152 days for the election. But then on Trump's birthday, Dallas gets their first win, and again, Trump's got the Slovenia connections like Luka through his wife and child. And again, the Celtics are going for their 18th championship. That score can be read 1-8 from the home team's perspective. Jerry West just died. It was 1-8 in championship series. Baseball, of course, is 18 as well. But yeah, just the odds of that score in light of the day it happened and in light of what was going on in the NBA, when we're saying how all these sports leagues are scripted together. The Yankees get their 50th win. Donald equals 50. Red Sox pitcher falls to 6-4. Boston Red Sox 64. Trump's Jesuit education at Fordham began in 64. Don't forget the Illuminati was founded by a Jesuit 64 days before the U.S. 64 spaces on the chessboard. International Chess Day comes out of France. It's celebrated on the 201st day of the year. 201 and 64. But yeah, look at the other score of the game right below that. Marlins and Nationals. Remember, Nationals won the 115th World Series shortly after Trump took office with the 115th Congress, and he hired Steve Ray, the Nationals announcer, to do the inauguration. Nationals equals 138, like their manager named Dave Martinez equals 138, like Donald Trump equals 138. You had the big ritual going on with Trump's birthday, Alex Jones, Sandy Hook, Rizzo. Rizzo in the MLB went to Stoneman Douglas, and he got real opinionated in the news after the shooting. He was part of that Cubs team that won the World Series in 2016, breaking the 108-year drought when Major League equals 108, and there's 108 double stitches on a baseball right before Trump took office and hired a member of the Cubs to be a part of his administration. But yeah, just the Nationals, which is so connected to Trump. What was tricky about that game, though, and we were humming and hawing, was the Marlins came in on 45 losses on number 45's birthday when Miami equals 45 and he has the Florida connection. So it's like, God, do they stay on 45 or is it the Nationals again, since that's the team most connected to him who won the World Series in tribute to him? They end up beating the Marlins down 8-1. The Yankees looked real good to beat the Red Sox. We weren't really humming and hawing on that one. But it's just funny just looking at the end of the day. It's like, look at the scores, man. And the Phillies and Orioles, we thought they would come in with the Phillies on 46 wins and the Orioles on 45 on this game. This was the World Series 41 years ago when Baltimore equals 41. And remember, the owner of the Orioles died at the start of the he died at 83 at this on the end. The owner of the Orioles died on March 23rd, which was the Francis Scott Key Bridge's birthday. And then 3 days later, the bridge collapsed. And it was the Key Bridge. Remember, Key equals 41, and the 41st mayor of Baltimore has the same birthday as Francis Scott Key, and that was Nancy Pelosi's father, and the bridge came down on her birthday and just everything else to that. But Philly also had this massive bridge collapse thing the year before on June 11th, and we saw what they were doing at the end of last NFL season. We said, look, if the Giants do this, this, and this, and the Eagles lose all these games, both teams will be 6-11 on the last day of the season in light of the 6-11 bridge collapse in Philly. Exactly what happened. Just sports and news all scripted together, purposeful bridge collapses that aren't accidents, which people need to wake up to. But Philly's connected to Biden because he's from Scranton, not far from Philly. So they came in on 46 wins. And then the Orioles, not far from the nation's capital, they stay on 45 wins on number 45's birthday. And Trump, which equals 47, Biden, who has all these 47 connections to him, they get the 47th win on that day. You know, that game also made a lot of sense that way. The one thing that you had to think twice about in that series was had the Orioles won all 3 games in the series, they would have ended up getting their 41st all-time win versus the Phillies in light of the World Series 41 years ago. But Phillies had the more immediate narrative for the day. And you see how the 37 hit on both sides in the Rays and Braves game? We expected that. Atlanta Braves equals 37. The score's also 3-7. Atlanta Braves 37. First game of the series, 37 on both sides with a 3-7 score. You'll see a lot of 56 with the Athletics. They have a double 56 connection. The only team that could actually pick up 45 yesterday was the Rockies on number 45's birthday. They picked up their 45th loss. And this Ryan Nelson, he became 4-5 for the year on 45's birthday, 134 days after his birthday. Make America Great Again equals 134. He becomes 4-5 on 45's birthday in Arizona, where they've done a lot of weird stuff with Trump over the years. So, but yeah, really just the big ones in baseball. The most obvious ones were the Yankees Red Sox game. And notice also the Red Sox fell to 35-35. Again, JFK from Boston, number 35, killed in Dallas on Interstate 35. The year Boston won the championship in 68, RFK died 35 days later. RFK equals 35 like Catholic. JFK, number 35, RFK with the 35 initials. Not to mention the Nationals, they got a symbolic win. They got their 33rd win. Nationals equals 33 when they won the World Series the other year over Houston, the 115th World Series after Trump took office with the 115th Congress. This year, the election's on November 5th, 115. Remember, the first caucus in Iowa this year was January 15th, 115. Trump got 56% of the vote out of all candidates. Got a huge percentage because, again, there's a lot of people to vote for in the caucus. But the election, November 5th, the day leaving 56 days left in the year. So, again, scripted sports. And think about how often these stories, I mean, after Stoneman Douglas, you were hearing a lot from Rizzo. There was a hockey player whose name's escaping me. Again, Sandy Hook has the parallels to the Dunblane massacre, and the famous tennis player from the UK supposedly survived that shooting, whose name always escapes me. But if we just type in Dunblane tennis, I bet just those two words, a lazy search will get what we're looking for. Not Dunblane Tennis Club. What? Hold on. I guess I got to get more. Andy Murray. That's who it was. Andy Murray. Born on Mercuralia, the trickster day. Born in 87, 37 years old. Yeah, he supposedly survived old Dunblane there. Did Andy Murray. March 13th, 96. He would have been 8 years old, almost 9. Okay. Open Up says Jason Frederick kid coaching the Mavs. Yeah, like JFK. JFK initials, indeed. Coaching the Mavs, and Jennifer Kennedy singing the Star Spangled Banner before games. More jokes. I didn't realize that about Jennifer Kennedy. It's crazy. And they got Bill Kennedy, the ref, working the series too. They got a Kennedy on the referee crew for the NBA. Shout out to Mike Rawson, member for 13 months. That reminds me, Dallas is 13 land. Look at Dallas's score last night. They win by 38. Again, Mavericks equals 38. I'll talk about the two scenarios remaining for the NBA. The Miracle, the first team ever to come back 3-0, or again, Celtics could very well close out on 6-17 since they're the 617 area code. But again, if Celtics win versus the East, or excuse me, if Celtics win the finals, they'll get the 41st championship for the East. 41st. Dallas equals 41. Series could go 4-1 on 617. Again, that's the Boston area code. 617. Next game's on June 17th. That wouldn't shock anybody. 617 again is the 113th prime. Dallas equals 41 and 113. They pay tribute to both numbers. But if the Mavericks were the first team to come back from 3-0, they'd win the 38th championship for the West. Mavericks equals 38. Dallas is 41. Mavericks is 38. Last night, the improbable 38-point blowout after how they looked. And again, this is just how stupid pro sports are. Again, you can't beat the shit out of a team 3 games in a row and then all of a sudden just be so much outmatched by this same team that you get blown out by 38 points. That just doesn't happen in a real sports game ever, But yeah, Dallas was up 13 they were up 34-21. Flag day equals 34. This is Flag day. They're up 13 at the end of the first quarter. Dallas equals 13. When JFK died, he died at 1 p.m. local time. That's 1,300 hours military time. The second quarter, they outscored them 27-14. Is that a difference of 13 again? So we always call Dallas 13 land. 13-13. And then they outscored them by 6 in the third. Is that like 63? 13 is also the 6th prime number. And then they outscored them by 6 in the fourth. 4-6, like number 46. But 122, no doubt a tribute to the Pope. Pope Francis 122, Jesus Hominum Salvator 122. That's the Jesuit motto. Jesuits 84. Pope Francis got the 84 birth numerology. There's been a huge 84 theme with the playoffs, including Rick Carlisle, who lost to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, who played for the Celtics back in 1984. But yeah, the 38-point difference. Remember Porzingis, who used to be on the Mavs. He missed 38 games, but then had a great game 1. And keep in mind, finals equals 38. So, again, let me scroll down here. All right. Again, Boston, the 617 area code, could wrap up the finals in Game 5 on June 17th and win the series 4-1. And it's possible Florida finishes off Canada 4-1 as well. Dallas 41, where JFK was killed. The city established in 1841. Again, USA is 41. The Jesuit suppression lasted 41 years. The Jesuits came out of suppression 144 days after James Madison's birthday. This country was formed in the time of the Jesuit suppression, 64 days after the Illuminati was founded by a Jesuit. I mean, you really just start to think about these things, it all starts to become pretty obvious. Like, okay, the Jesuits were on lockdown by the Pope. A Jesuit creates the Illuminati. Europeans are thinking about creating a nation that's separate from European Catholic rule. I wonder if the Catholic Church had an interest in hijacking what was going on overseas. Again, it's just so obvious what happened here, you guys. I don't know why people choose not to see it, because to choose not to see it is to say that things are good enough and you're okay, essentially being a slave to this government, and you're being okay being lied to and mocked, because we are every day. Every day we are lied to and mocked and overtaxed and used and abused. And I mean, look at this cabal sacrificing people. I mean, how many different levels of sickness are there that people should be outraged about and want to end instantly? But anyway, coming back, scenario one, Boston closes it out in the 617 special. If Boston does not do that, my eyebrow is going to be up, because then the door starts to really open for what's never happened before. We talked about this yesterday before the game. I really do think they flipped game three. 41 always kills on number 41's birthday. And for years, I've taught about the relationship with George Herbert Walker Bush, 41 and 118. So here, again, just to remind, if you write out George Herbert Walker Bush, let me write it out real quick with one hand here. It'll take a second. George Herbert Walker Bush. You see the 118? He was number 41, right? 41 equals 118, okay? It's also got this 46 connection with like what happened to JFK in 41 land Dallas at age 46. There's a lot more to the 118 and 41 that goes with the history of Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones is 41. Ossuary is 118. That's where they get their symbolism from. The Templars buried their dead in an ossuary. That's where the skull and crossbones thing comes from. But on number 41's birthday, these numbers just dominate year after year. And this year, Dallas could have got their 41st win all time versus the Celtics, and their 118th win all time in the playoffs. I mean, like historically, just like last year. Last year, Jokic, the 41st pick, wins the finals 4-1 on number 41's birthday. Then even they're paying tribute in the World Series. The World Series, and on the 119th day of Bush's age for the 119th World Series, 4-1. Both Skull and Bones members. Again, Skull and Bones, 41. HW's buried in Texas. So it's really weird that Dallas missed that ritual. If they didn't flip the script, like if Boston wins in game 5, I'm going to be 1,000,000% convinced that they flipped the script and didn't do what they typically do, because too many people have caught on to their shenanigans. I mean, I've been teaching that lesson 1,000 times, and we've been grateful for it for many years, but this year it burned us. If Boston does not close out in the next game, it could be that the reason they wanted them down 0-3 and did things a little bit different is because they wanted to be the first team to ever come back. If you look it up, Dallas, again, teams in their position were 0 and 156, being down 0-3 in NBA playoff series. And if Boston gives up the first 3-0 lead, remember, Boston was the first team to come back from 3-0 in baseball, and they did it versus the Yankees, who they played on this day as well, the 8-1 game like we were talking about. But the 156, just one more time. Actually, let's just put up all the base ciphers. Robert Kennedy. Again, the finals began on 6/6 on the anniversary of the death of Robert Kennedy. And Robert Kennedy was shot June 5th, typically the 156th day of the year, died on 6/6. If the Mavericks came back and won the finals, the first team to ever come back from 0-3, the Celtics would fall to 15-6 in the playoffs, 15-6 for the year. And the Mavericks would get their 66th win of the season after the finals began on 6/6. But Robert Kennedy, 156, 195. Again, just like Boston. Well, see how Boston's 22? Again, he died on their 22nd birthday, the Celtics. Basketball is also 22. But Boston Celtics, 156, 195. Just like Robert Kennedy. Boston Celtics also 48, like Donald Trump. This game on Trump's birthday, the first game the Celtics lose. Celtics lose their first game in this 78th season in the finals on Trump's 78th birthday. The way they've put this puzzle together, though, it's more abstract than other years. And it's just like what exactly have they done here? Because Joe Biden is Celtic and Trump has the Slovenia connection like Luka, but the Celtics are 17-5 in the finals. And if they win, they'll be 18-5, like Donald John Trump, but also like basketball. And then eventually they could become 19-5, like Boston Celtics and Robert Kennedy, who again, Robert Kennedy died on the Celtics' 22nd birthday, and he died in 68. See how that works out with basketball? Catholicism, for the record's 185 and 68, just like mathematics in the same cipher. But yeah, the difficulty on what they've done, the bait 41 118 is, which is what it turned out to be. And then it's like, well, if they do that, then are they setting up the sweep narrative? Nope. Nope, they're setting up all of a sudden the Mavericks are a whole new inspired team with the great steel curtain of basketball. It's just, you guys, all of this stuff is so stupid. It's just so stupid, and the fact that people can't see through it, it's just pathetic, man. It's like you're watching Luka Doncic move as slow as a slug, carry the ball every time he touches it. Literally, the guy cannot move on the court without carrying a basketball. His dribble is to tuck the ball way back and put his hand under the ball. Again, a whistle's supposed to blow at that moment. The hand's supposed to go up. Carry. We're going the other way. But then Tatum gets the ball, and Tatum's doing the same thing. That's how Tatum dribbles. Dribbles like this. Every time the hand's all the way under the ball. Every time you do that, it's a carry. The whistle should blow. That's a turnover. That's a carry. Again, basketball, your hand has to be on the top half of the ball. It's okay if you're a little bit on the side, dribbling down. But if you're on the side like palming and carrying, I saw Jaylen Brown just do this move. It was kind of cool. I mean, he was dribbling and he like palmed the ball for a second and came over with one arm and put the ball down over here with the dribble and then a dunk. And it's like, well, that's street ball right there. I mean, he just like palmed the ball and brought it over here to get on the other side of the different. I mean, that's why they might as well just get rid of dribbling. I mean, if nobody even cares anymore about the fundamentals of basketball, which the NBA hasn't cared about for 20 years. It's been all carrying and traveling. Just get rid of the dribble. Let's just see who the most athletic guy is. Let's see who can run down the court the fastest and jump from the furthest away and dunk. Put a trampoline on the court. Why not? Let's see who can dunk from the 3-point line. You know, it's stupid, man. All of this stuff is just stupid, and everyone's just going along with it. Well, it's fair now because they just let everybody do that, except for when they don't. And then you'll see just like in a crucial moment of the game, the ref will blow his whistle and they'll call a carry, and you're like, well, wait a minute, you didn't call the last 10,000 carries, but now when the game's on the line, you're going to call it. You're going to decide the game with the call that you've missed all year. I mean, come on. It's all so dumb. It's all so rigged. And what are you going to do? So, all right, member for 13 months. You put me on one. Thank you. Shout out to Oscar Garcia. Great work as always. I wish more people felt that way. Thank you again, though, Oscar. Try guys. I think every time I see Oscar's name, it just reminds me of being in second grade. My best friend in second grade was Oscar. Almighty GI says Edmundo Sosa had a home run today. His name equals 167. It's the 167th day of the year. Okay, nice. Nice. And didn't he just have the big ritual too? 201 days from Arturo Sosa's birthday? Okay, yeah, I think I got everything in here that I was trying to cover. Um, this is a new trend in the news. I don't know if it's a new technology thing, but just so many stories like this that finding all these planes in water that they lost from long ago. Okay. Uh-oh. Supreme Court signals interest in hearing case that could be a nightmare for liberals. It's also political. Out of curiosity, I just got to check what this is, and then we can wrap it up. Supreme Court signals interest in hearing a major climate change case. Captured. by the fossil fuel industry. Okay, let's see. The Supreme Court seemed to signal interest this week in taking up a challenge launched by Hawaii against big oil companies to hold them liable for climate change. And some Democrats are suggesting the high court is captured for the fossil fuel industry. Again, it's Hawaii, which has the links with Obama, what they did last year there with the crazy fires and the obvious weather warfare ritual. And in Hawaii, the state born 201 months after Joe Biden. The Supreme Court on Monday asked the Justice Department to weigh in on a petition. Monday. Friday was June 14th, so Monday was what, June 10th? Yeah, June 10th. Um, the Supreme Court on Monday asked the Justice Department to weigh in on a petition to hear a lawsuit brought by the city of Honolulu against major fuel companies, including Sunoco, Exxon, and Chevron, claiming the company's products cause greenhouse gas emissions and global warming without warning consumers about the risks. The city employed a series of state laws like public nuisance and trespass measures and said the company should pay billions to state. All right, blah blah blah. Remember that was another one of the clues that why we knew Biden was going to win in 2020. Green New Deal equals 113, like that election was November 3rd. Fit in with the whole Agenda 2030, the Great Reset. I'll have to look more into the history of the whole climate change movement and where these we know what's special about climate change. It has that old 56 like Washington, D.C. and Society of Jesus and another high ritual number. But I just about that movie that they put out as all the world leaders were gathering in Paris, where they've written the Paris Climate Accords. Again, Paris, the home of the Jesuits, Paris, France, 56. They put out that movie on the fifth day of the sixth month about sharks getting mutated by trash in the water. So yeah, I'll have to think more about this one. Do some more research on the history of climate change. Okay. Is that right? Ron Paul, the politician, was the doctor who delivered Selena? I'm gonna have to look into that. Okay. Greta Thunberg. I mean, we've covered plenty of Greta Thunberg stuff in the past. Hold on. Let me just type her name in here on my site and see the last time I covered her. Greta Thunberg says COP26 is a failure on Guy Fawkes Day. Remember the 5th of November. Remember, we were just out 56 and climate change. That's the day leaving 56 days left in the year. Speak of the devil. Climate change 56 like Society of Jesus. Um, I got plenty of posts on Greta though. Time magazine, the old 201 magazine, made her the person of the year one year. She got a statue 86 days after her birthday. Statue equals 86, like Jesuits. We all know what they just did to Jerry West in the Mega 86 ritual. It's in Winchester, which equals 56, like climate change. Okay. Greta Thunberg basically recovered after a apparent bout with COVID-19. This was 82 days after her birthday. She was Times Person of the Year. Person of the Year is 82, like COVID. Just remember Seattle's 82, where the whole thing popped off. First case in the world outside of mainland China. It was there's a few things that were definitely interesting about it. Yeah. Oh, her UN speech was 263 days after her birthday, the 56th prime number. Yeah. There's I mean, again, for all you guys who ask these questions, why don't you guys help? Like, why don't you guys check out my website sometime? Do some search. Like, nobody uses my website, so the thing tracks horribly on Google. Nobody finds any of these articles. Can't get like that's kind of why I'm just people just it's just you think there'd be more help in the world to do simple things like do a scan of the website each day, read a little bit of the articles. No one gets off of YouTube. They just open up their YouTube app and they're not going anywhere else. Um, I bet this old video on her is gone. Let's see. Video unavailable. That's because this channel was probably deleted 5,000 times ago. Um, Here. I bet I have older posts on Greta Thunberg over here. Thunberg, when did she become a celebrity? November 2nd, 2019. Leonardo DiCaprio says she's the leader of our time on old 112 when the Jesuits operate in 112 countries. Uh, Here she is speaking on the anniversary of the Pope speaking in DC, his fourth anniversary. How dare you? Again, that's the 266th day of the year. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. Don't forget the word Pope equals 56. And the Pope's written several encyclicals about doing things about climate change. Um, Again, it was 263 days after her birthday that she made her big mark. Again, that's the 56 prime, the climate change number. Knows how Greta Thunberg is so similar to climate change. It's the exact same in reverse, just a flip around in the forwards. Angry Greta Thunberg in the title, will never forgive. Just all those phrases equal the same thing. Environmental activist and just coded propaganda, coded headlines. Roman Catholic Church is another 94 for the record. Big number with Billy Goat Gates, whose wife with the same birthday as the Jesuits, who comes from a family of Jesuit priests. She turned 56 the year of the 56 pandemic. Greta Thunberg named Times Person of the Year 79 days after the UN speech. Greta Thunberg is 79. Society of Jesus is 56 and 79. Climate change is 56. So, Time Magazine 201, like the Jesuit order. Her father is an actor. His birthday is June 10th. That's interesting because the media was so focused on those fires going crazy. Oh, God, what's wrong with me? Wow, I almost let that slip through the cracks. Now it's all right. There must be something way deeper about June 10th in weather and warfare because I was just saying how the media was so focused on how this fire spread in the wetlands in Brazil on June 10th, which was the 177th day of the Pope's age. I'm missing a big one here. Now it's all come back to me. Remember, Lyndon Johnson said, "Who controls the weather controls the world" on June 10th, 1964. And that was 201 days after JFK died. And he said it at Jesuit Holy Cross. And remember, weather control and the Jesuit order are both the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. The Jesuit order weather control, 177, 69, 201. So now we're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, and that day falls on the 177th day of his age. You have this crazy thing happening in Brazil. And then Greta Thunberg's father is born on June 10th in 69. So that he was born on the 5th anniversary of Lyndon Johnson saying, "Who controls the weather controls the world." Hmm. The show her father was in has this name, Scarter's gotten I don't know how to say it, but it equals 185, and she was that person of the year 185 days after his birthday. Again, he comes from the world of theater and acting. Huh. So, David Bellamy dies on Greta Thunberg's big day. TV naturalist David Bellamy, dead at 86. And later she's getting the 86 statue. You know what I mean? Another child actor was dead that same day. She's the child actor benefiting. This is the child actor not benefiting. Um, Looks like that's what I got. At least it still remains. You never know. There might have been some other posts that Google took down. So yeah, Greta Thunberg. She got all the numbers. Okay. I got to look up. You're welcome, John Mendoza. Thank you. I got to look up the Selena Ron Paul thing. Yeah, I know a lot of people think Ron Paul's just the greatest thing there ever was, but I look at his son, who's a little Jesuit puppet, and I think, yeah, I think he was just another actor, political theater, giving hope for the hopeless. You know, so what are the odds of that? Hmm. I never knew that before. That's interesting. Thank you again, John. Uh, Heck Mel says, Zach, check out the result from WWE Clash at the Castle. Drew McIntyre equals 68, lost to Damian Priest 78. What was that on Trump's birthday? I don't follow WWE. WWE Clash at the Castle. It looks like it might have been today, 55 minutes ago. There's just like WWE events going on all the time. Saturday afternoon, yeah, today. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Damian Priest, Jesuit priest, Jesuit 78. Let's see. He's 41 years old right now. September 26th. That's the day leaving. 96 days left in the year. Dallas is on the 96th meridian. JFK died on 96 date numerology. '96. Today's the 167th day of the year. Is that 263 days later, the 56 prime? Hold up. September 26, 2024. Whoops, I went the wrong way. We want 2023. Yeah, 263 days later, the 56th prime. Magic pairing. Talked about that one in a big way with what went down March 26th with the 56-meter of clearance bridge. Drew McIntyre. He's got the June 6th birthday, the day the finals began. Okay. Yeah, I don't know enough about wrestling to add much more onto it. Definitely not my specialty. By the way, young guys in the chat, Jay would open eyes 4. Well, now you changed it to 6, Jay. Are you already on channel 6? Or did you mean IV? But uh, he keeps getting his channel deleted by YouTube. And if you guys want to give him a sub, he would like to build his numbers back up. He's been working hard to put out good information for the world, and YouTube's just been taking him down since he was a teenager. Can't even let a teenager have an opinion, big tech. They're threatened by the teenager putting out the information from his bedroom. And shout out to Knowledge for Ignorance. He's our resident musician. Check out his channel. He's got a lot of songs. But yeah, all right. I think we'll leave it there for now, you guys. Again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who supports the work. And until next time.